Welcome to the second episode of my discussion with Micah Malcolm. In this episode, Micah gives advice for beginning showmen. We also discuss Micah's growth as a show pig breeder, coach, and team builder for his customers. He and I have a deep conversation about sow and gilt breeding soundness and where C-sections fit into the show pig industry. And deep inside those conversations, we find two unique nuggets about Micah and where he fits into the Malcolm family. Micah also answers our 5 questions, and we get a deeper insight in how Micah's life was affected by both the show ring and the athletic fields. Sit back and enjoy the second half of my discussion with Micah.
As we talked earlier and before we started recording, how I wanted to make sure that I had a nice blend of well-established guests, say older, with a blend of my younger friends that have experiences. You're between us, the same age as my kids, but you're just a few years removed, and you've got 2 siblings that are still showing. So what would be one piece of advice or a couple pieces of advice as just out of 4-H and still in the show pig industry that you would give a younger person? Let's think you're talking about Miranda has a kid.
Yep.
What advice would you give him or them as they start or want to become showmen?
That's pretty good because, my sister just had got married. She would have kids. Another sister would, or my brothers would, and they were like, hey, I want to continue, I want to do this. Don't take things for granted, but also look and see who got you there. But also don't jump into it without looking at it and knowing what you're getting into. Mm-hmm. Because not everybody can jump into something and do it like you're doing it because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
I want to tell kids that take a step back. How long have they been doing it? What did it take? What are you willing to put in to achieve that? Mm-hmm. And that's where I find myself sometimes as what am I willing to do to make that extra step to go be that, the guy that's up there or that firm that's up there. Or that, that professional athlete. You could compare ourselves to professional athletes and, those big guys that, have the big show pig name compared to us that got the smaller name. Where do we fit in, but also who's got to work hard to get there? But also they worked hard to get there too.
Okay.
And to the younger kids, I want to say that look around and pay attention to who's helping you and who's been there, and feed off of that. And I know this might sound weird coming from a 25-year-old kid, or you could say a guy, and I've grown up with it. Is I love kids and like to teach them things and show them things. It starts out as a baby and then they continue to grow. But when you come to these, and I'm going to put an example in there, these shows, it's day one and there's kids that are just barking up my tree. Let's go play this. Let's play cornhole. Hey, come do this. Or, they're chipping in my ear and people are like, well, how do you know that kid? Well, I give them attention. I show them, I'm nice to them because there's nothing wrong with being nice to somebody. And I know that was a quote put by a very big breeder out there that just be nice.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing wrong with being nice to somebody because you could have just changed their day.
Yep.
It's crazy that if you just put a little effort towards something, imagine what you could get back in return. But you being nice one day could be somebody being nice to you for years.
Yep.
And you could get a friend from it. And that's what I want towards those kids is, hey, he was cool when he was that age. I'm going to be cool when I'm that age because I'm going to like kids too.
That's nice.
And that's where it starts. And that's where I've always thought it starts, is where I think people should know it starts, is it's that next generation, but those kids that see they're watching you. There's somebody's always watching you. And I was told that growing up. You're always being watched. What you do on the basketball court, what you do off the basketball court, what you do at a show, what you do not at a show. Whether or not at your home or not, I always like to believe, somebody's looking through the window at me. I better quit dancing, here in the barn. There's nothing wrong with that, but, what am I doing at a show? Am I, cussing and mad? Or am I just like, clap your hands, smack something, we were right there? We're going to do it next time. There's quite a few people that are good at it, and, they're like, we're going to get it next time, and there's some that get mad, but, everybody's different. Everybody judges. It's your opinion. Just be nice enough, for those younger ones to see so that they remember exactly how you were at that time when they get to your age.
I've watched you, and I watched the way that you interacted with my kids, and I know you're not talking about a you salesman nice. I mean, it's genuine. But you said something in there that I think applies to you as a teacher. when you were talking about look behind and look at what people are capable of. So as you've become more integrated with more children, as you're selling more livestock, how have you had to change your approach to people based upon their competitiveness? And say your competitiveness is at a 10, and not everybody you sell pigs to or work with is a 10.
I kind of like to get a feel for what they want to achieve. And I would say since I've been done with showing, but I know I still got my brothers to look out for and to find stuff for them to show. But also I had this past year probably the most people ever within probably, I'd say, the 2 states of Michigan, because that's where I spent a lot of time the past couple of years, and then in Indiana, in the pig world, that have said, hey, we want your help next year, or hey, can you help us, or can you get us pigs, can you show us how to feed, we want your help. And I like to tell them, no, you're never going to bother me enough because I'm never too busy. I'll get back with you at some point. Mm-hmm. I may tell you no now, and a day later, yeah, what's up? What can I do to help? And it's maybe just kind of see that there's always something for everybody, depending on where you want to be. But not everything's as expensive as you think it is. Just because so-and-so spends this much doesn't mean you have to be able to achieve that same goal. There's always things that are expensive that are cheap, and things that are cheap that are expensive.
Yeah.
It's just how you look at it. And the way I've looked at it is, I can still help anybody that wants to help and wants to learn at any aspect of where they want to be. I've had people come to me and we want to win our county fair. Not everybody looks at the county fair as, being a big show, but to them it is. So, hey, let's find this pig that I know that, reading potentially as, what they look like, it's got a shot to be good. We're going to get that one for you. And they're like, well, we want to do well at, our national show. Okay, well, let's find something that, that fits a budget, but also I can help you with feeding if we can get that dialed into enough to make you happy and achieve that goal. And I don't think I've ever had anybody in the couple years that I've been able to help a few families say that, hey, you're wrong, you don't know what you're doing. They've always asked, they come back again as, hey, we want to do better this year. I want to, beat that person because, they beat us and they were talking this and that. And, okay, well, it's fine. You might have you might have a budget. You get me fired up, I'm going to get fired up because let's get this done if you want to do it that bad. And I actually had a time last summer that a certain person that ended their show career, they were done, and I had a couple kids come up and say, hey, we want to get pigs from you this year since, she's done. Let's figure something out. I want 3-4 pigs. And I had another kid come up to me and say that, hey, we got a certain budget, but I want to kick so-and-so's, next year. Let's get it done because I'm tired of hearing them talk. Mm-hmm. I said, all right, it's fine. Let's get it done. But in the meantime, things happen. Yeah. Next year, let's come back talking without talking, though. And we'll get it done. And we'll win silently while they're sitting there trying to figure out how you just did that. Yeah. But, you came to the right place, but also, you kept your composure and did it right.
So you've been selling show pigs with your dad for a long time, but you've been really doing it the last, 3-4 years? Serious?
Yeah. I would say there, and honestly, probably only the past 2 or 3, real serious. But the years prior, it was just a handful of pigs here, handful of pigs there.
Well, and you had more siblings that were showing too.
Yeah, we would feed. It seemed like when I was in, and the younger 4 that are behind me were in, we were taking 10 to 12 pigs to our county fair, and that was big for us. But as time goes on, I think this speaks for a lot of people. The county fairs have kind of dwindled a little bit, but there's still people that will get to it, and we still go.
But you could not go next year. That'd be all right.
I could. I might not make a few people unhappy or happy. I don't know. We put it to where that there's certain places that we need to be and not to be, but also to achieve those goals, if you still got them, that we want to do it.
So curveball coming at you. Not every pig you sold has panned out.
Correct.
I know you sold a couple high-dollar ones, at least 1 or 2 didn't work out. How'd that make you feel?
Honestly, it bugs me a little bit.
Okay.
It bugs me a little bit. I like to see, if people that seem serious or the ones that have bought are serious, and maybe you don't see, what those have generated or how those do at shows, and it kind of bugs you a little bit. It bugs me because, well, where did I fail? What did I do wrong? Did I not see something that, maybe they saw, or, vice versa? Or what could I have done to help them better? And that's where I think I've got a little more learning to do, is putting people in the right direction. If you're going to spend that, then let me help you, but also don't be afraid to ask around, or, hey, what else could be different to other people? And then those that maybe not, don't spend a lot, and I don't talk a lot about spending here, but that's kind of where we're at in this, show pig world, or you could say the livestock world, is There's good ones high and there's good ones low.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to go around and find them. And there's sometimes it kind of hurts to see that, he spent a lot of money on it. They didn't do well.
We're working with a pig. It's biological.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's corn plant, a pig, a cow. It's biology can trump all kinds of stuff. Weather, whatever. So several months passed or several years passed, one of those figures. How have you internalized or how have you come to grips with, okay, this is going to happen again, but how have you prepared yourself to deal with it if it does happen again? When it does happen again.
And you mean that by?
You sell somebody a $5,000 gilt and
okay.
She gets the gate at Louisville.
Yep.
That's a most horrible example we could get.
Yeah, no, that's good. I've had, in some aspect, kind of just happened here at this past national show there at Perry. We sold a gilt online to a family in Ohio. She went for a couple $1,000, and they ended up second in both shows they showed her at that national show, though. Okay. And they were just so close to being, that first place, because that first place gets to show for champion. I don't even know if I answered your question yet.
Well, I think it comes with maturity.
Yeah.
You're learning lessons that some people never learn because they're never put in a position where they failed that bad. We have our families and the families we associate with are in unique positions because we're aggravated. We've seen failure. You being in the show pig world, or even the livestock world, something bad's going to happen, and you just the maturity to deal with it, figuring out how to deal with it.
Yeah, and what you could do to make it better maybe the next time.
Mm-hmm.
We spent that much, but hey, we're going to keep on to, say it's a female, we're going to breed her and she has pigs. Okay, great. Next time you guys come back, whatever, hey, let's look at something a little different. Maybe not go that high or buy that, that much of a quality gilt, but maybe look at, the fundamental standpoint of what that one that you bought didn't have, and maybe I can help you out though, or we'll treat you better this time. I'll help you out. Let's see how the sale pans out. Maybe don't buy. Yeah. Come back. We'll find something a little different. Maybe not as much. Maybe could be more, but looking behind it, and it goes back to that genetic thing. Genetically, this one reads all the winnings behind it. I feel personally, maybe you don't have to spend this much on this one. That's the one that I would buy. And I find myself doing that now.
So there's two things. One, I think in your case, so we're talking about somebody spending the high dollars on something. It's communication. Yeah. In your example, that family got second place. And I don't know who they are. So this is just me. Maybe they're just happy as punch they got second place. Maybe you're more upset than they are.
Yeah, and I do know for sure that they were more than happy that had happened. Maybe I bought a multi-year customer that, as long as they're still buying pigs, they're going to come to us and be like, hey, we showed that one. We want to get another one.
But then that comes back to you as a salesman. And in ag that I've hit on a lot in my writings is it's very relationship-oriented.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. If you can build good relationships in any industry, they could be lifelong for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of success of those guys that are out there and big, whether you're a boar stud owner, a big show pig owner, big cattle guys, sheep guys, they've all got big names, but who'd they make relationships with from the start to get where they are today? Mm-hmm. And that's where I think younger people have got to understand, and even kids, that if you're going to start with this, where do you start, but also who do you get involved with? How do you act? What are you? And there's just a lot of questions to ask yourself that what were you doing during this time? Or, you just walked by them. Why'd you put your head down and look the other way?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Handshake, walk on by. Next time they see you, that's the kid that shook my hand.
Yeah.
Or hey, that's the kid that said hi to me. Oh, wait, that's the kid that just won grand. It's all of a sudden it starts adding together and hey, boom, now you got a relationship with them and now they're looking at you or you're looking at them, but they're like, we'll cut that,
yeah.
Hey, let's get them a good pig or, hey, let's buy one from them. There's lots of different ways to look at it. And like I said, I'm more focused on pigs right there, but it happens in all those other species too, for sure, with everything.
So the other thing that you said, and it's a pet peeve of mine, is she's got to be a sow. Jolly showed 2 crossbred gilts at the state fair this year that are going to go lay down and they're going to have pigs. They got nice hips. They walked well. They weren't extreme. They had vulvas on them. And they got nice last glass. How do you, as a breeder that studies genetics and that works in the farrowing house, that sees a sow lay down and have pigs, balance chasing the fad, particularly in gilts, with, man, she's not going to have pigs?
Talking about this year again. I mean, this is just as good. This is kind of a little bit my wheelhouse. I got to the point I was tired of dragging year-old show gilts out of the crates dead because we couldn't get the pigs out of them. They were too tight. The circumference, and this goes back to even genetics. This goes back to, you could say, science. Looking at them, when you see everything on the outside, and you look at, you go down to study feet, toes, leg, bone, skull shape, all that, the good stuff, that skeleton. That bone on the outside is just as big as that bone on the inside because it's all one thing. So when you start adding, big bones to these females, these males, and you're taking big bone to big bone, all that bone's going to be the same whether or not they're mature or not. But I got to the point where I was tired of dragging, like I said, dead show gilts out of the crates because they couldn't have their pigs. I got to the point I was just tired of doing it. And looking at them, maybe we should stop breeding these show gilts. I was tired of doing it and looking at gilts that we spent all this time and money and put into and watching us bury them. This is the first year in, I think, 2 or 3 years that I bred a gilt to farrow at a year old, or just over a year old. And my success rate's been 3 out of 3. But, I don't mean to brag. Everybody does it. You try to get, you push to get your best dollar amount out of that gilt, that maybe had a successful show career, but also, what's best for her. I saw that, she was big enough, but she also was, and told by hog breeders that judged her, her hips correct, her joints are correct. She may not be that one today, and that's what was her fault at Expo that year, or just this last year, was she just wasn't that gilt today that had enough. But she's built right, everything's correct. So it worked out. We bred her sister the same age. They farrowed, I think, a couple weeks apart. I think I sleeved them to make sure they were done. They had all their pigs on their own. And, that's that Yorkshire breed. We ended up doing it with a Duroc.
The Yorkshire breed's not the Yorkshire breed it used to be.
We did it with a Duroc gilt we bought from a known breeder. She had all her pigs on her own. It's different for aspects of, if it's done right and you give it time and a chance. Maturity has a lot to do with it. But from trying to do spin them quick and get them to farrow at a year old, which seems to be about, where everybody does.
Your experience of actually farrowing the sows goes back to you helping your grandpa, and you figured out we're raising an animal. She's got to do her job, and if she's not bred right, if she's not raised right, if she's not structured right, she's not going to do her job. And I think as we have more barrel judges judging gilts, it's going to continue to be a problem in our industry.
Yeah. For the show pig world, I can see that, and there's times I cuss it because I don't want somebody that is mainly raises for that barra type or that shorter body type to judge my breeding gilt, because she's not going to be built like what they're known for, what they want to see. And sometimes it's hard, and you got to bite that bullet when you end up third in class to a gilt that's going to make that next barra, when you've got the gilt that's going to generate and make the next gilt barra and boar.
But you'll lay down and have 10 pigs,
yes,
12 pigs.
And where that gilt that might have won might be his type. And again, that day it's his opinion.
Yes, that's showing.
Yeah, and you get that in all the rings. It may not come up to the point that where you want it to be because that's what they wanted. I think everybody can fall guilty to it.
Well, unfortunately, we have some people in our industry that use certain sections as a badge of honor. Yeah. We had Dr. Yard out again, and they put it on Facebook. I'm like,
what? Yeah.
Take a look at those ear notches, because we don't want to get anything out of that one.
I don't want to ever have to ask a vet to come out and do it, and I've had it done 3 times this year. I think maybe twice. And it's just, and one was a gilt, and the other one was a second litter sow that the first time, I should say, both times she farrowed, I was gone, so I put that responsibility on 2 younger kids at home, or even dad, to do it. And, it's different because I'm so, I could say I'm experienced way more than the kids are on farrowing, but when I'm gone, I got to put it on them, and if they can't get it figured out, well, it's do or die at that point with livestock, so you got to get the vet out.
Well, I'm not saying that we don't use cesarean sections. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we use it more than we should.
Yes.
And in some cases, we use it more than we should because we don't have the experience. Your experience, you can sit there and go, okay, it's been 20 minutes. She's huffing a little bit. Let's leave her.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes back to experience. But as we continue to get more people into the industry, and those people are further and further away from the experiences you had with grandma, that puts you in a position as a young person to be a good mentor to people, doesn't it?
Yes, because, and you just said that, something clicked in my head that I don't remember as a kid Grandpa doing C-sections. I don't remember as a kid hearing about, we had to have the vet out 4 times this year because we had to cut a cow. Just say cut a calf out, cut pigs out, cut a lamb out.
Mhm.
I never got to experience calves and lambs, but I got to experience pigs, and I don't ever remember as a kid, Dad and Grandpa ever saying the vet had to come out and do a C-section. Because times have changed. Obviously, everything changes in life,
Yes.
and it continues to either gets worse and gets better, but you got to come back from it and you got to push forward. But yeah, growing up, those experiences I had, we don't do the things we do today, and that comes with change. But still, if we just look back at those things that we used to do and go with what worked, why come away with it? And I think it just comes with time and change, and what people think might be the best, but is it really the best?
Well, we get back to what we talked to start, fundamentals.
Yeah.
We get the fundamentals right, everything else will fall into place.
Yep.
We get good sow herd, we breed the right boars. As long as you got a good sow herd, everything else will fall in place.
Yep.
As long as we get up and do chores every morning, walk the pigs, everything else will fall in place, right?
Yeah.
So thinking about that, who's the best showman of your family?
Might make a couple laugh and grin once they get to hear this podcast. Well, I'm going to have to say it's neither one of the 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to guess between us 3 boys, Merrick's into it a lot. He's the youngest. And as much as I've been into it and shown just as much or more than he has, and then there's Malachi who's into it. I wouldn't say he was into it as much as Merrick and I. I'm going to have to put the battle between Merrick and myself, and I'm going to go with the experiences. I can still probably outdrive him, but I know I'm going to start hurting before he does. But he also gets after it a little better than I had because he had got to learn from me.
Okay, there you go.
So
not only you're the better showman, but you're the better teacher.
That's right. He got to learn from me and how I want things done, but also how it needs to be done. And I think that shapes him into being a better showman because he got to learn from somebody that experienced it, but also got to teach him how to do it right and to get it done because he's the one that drove the champion yard board. I drove the reserve.
There you go.
But I stuck with the one I liked.
Yeah.
He stuck with the one I told him he needs to drive. And things always seem to work out best that they can. And I got a little crap for it from quite a few people down there. That why is your brother driving the best one? It's I just stuck with the one that I liked. And
I was feeling sorry for him.
He was the better showman, anyways.
Yeah.
He got it done, and he's used to it. He's always doing it anyways when he can. And I'm usually the one barking orders or telling him what to do. And at the end of the day, when he's done and he's 21 or his time's up, I could probably hang my coat up and say that he's the one that got it done.
But not today.
He's the best of it. Yeah, not today. I'm still saying I could give him a run for his money, but
well, he doesn't have any director's chairs yet, does he?
No,
Huh?
not yet.
Not yet.
But I bet he's getting.
He's still got a couple more years.
He's building them up.
So as we've kind of gone through the main topics I wanted to talk about, how athletics and the show ring have made you who you are as a soon-to-be 25-year-old. I think back to your dad and I when we were 25. We weren't worried about show pigs.
Oh, yeah.
You brought up, as we were talking about the pigs and how you've changed and how you've grown your influence in the show pig world, how do you help your customers build a team?
This is something I need to do more of and get into more. That I'm kind of hopefully getting more and more people in because of success what we've had. People see that, and they want to be a part of it. And by all means, I probably don't have, quite a, great customer base, and I should say a great team of people that'll listen. But I feel that it's coming along as the, time and wins, but also they see that what I can do or what I'm capable of helping them, progresses. I feel like that I can always do more for them as long as their understanding of what it's going to take.
Well, I think you're at the point in your career where the team's been you and your customer that have asked you to work, right?
Yeah. No, I can see what you're saying there.
So if you have somebody comes up and says, Micah, I really like that 1-2 gilt you got on the sale. Do you think she would work for this? But they live 500 miles away.
I had my first sale this year, and I sold November pigs, peers, and crosses. Crosses sold more crosses than I did peers. But I had people call and text during the sale, before the sale. Hey, does this one fit this time frame and feeding? is this one going to be good enough here that, we can get her to this point? Or is this one too big or not going to be big enough for, our end game? And that's what I always ask most people is, what's your end game? What's your goal?
Okay.
And, if they tell me state fair, they tell me, the expo, or our county fair. It's all levels I get asked. And I know that everybody that's out there that sells pigs that's in the industry gets asked at all different levels, will this pig make it there? And I do my best to not, just tell them, oh, yeah, it's going to go, and it's really not. To be like, yeah, I think you can manage right and fed right. If it's me, I'm probably shooting for the show that's earlier. I'm trying to put that pig into, my feeding program where I would aim for. The crosses can be different because they can also be shown bigger weights.
Yeah.
Purebreds may not look always good at bigger weights, but they also got to mind the age, and what those purebreds are going to do. Because purebreds, in today's show pig world, grow way faster than the crosses. And it's a no-brainer that if you're buying, a January, early January purebred and a early January crossbred, which one's going to have the faster point to maturity and, ready to go. And that's kind of what I like to tell people when they ask me, what can we do? How can we do it? Which one's the best one to buy? As long as I can get them the right information and they're completely in understanding of what I'm telling them, I feel like, we just worked something out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't lie to them.
Okay.
I didn't, but I told them the truth on kind of where I stand and what that, particular animal could be, end game for.
Well, and that comes back to the communication. Obviously, you have some customers that they just want to buy a pig and I'll take care of it. You have the other ones, it just goes back to them telling you what they want and you kind of figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So one little quirky thing that I don't think many people know, you used to DJ, right?
Oh my, that just threw me off guard. Oh my. I did a little bit. And to start off with, since you said that, I love music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has to go a little genetically that Dad loved music and Dad was a DJ, I would say, I think when we were growing up, but before our time too. As kids.
Started when we were in college.
Yeah. And he was, got into playing music and had all kinds of CDs and speakers and lights. And, I remember those times as a kid seeing that stuff. And then I always do remember, as a kid going to like wedding receptions were like awesome to go to as a kid in my mind. And I would always go up to the loudspeaker and stand right next to it and listen to it with my ear. And it was like so unhealthy for, a kid's eardrums, but also it was just awesome to listen to the bass in that music. And, I think that has a little play to do with, the little bit of side DJing you could say, I did. And, I don't think I honestly ever made $1 DJing for the little bit you could say I did. Yeah. But, I had a blast doing, the little things that I had, been asked to do. Most of them were college-age parties in Ohio.
Oh.
I had some buddies over there that always threw a Halloween party or, hey, we're throwing a party this week and you would come play music. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, or they would just invite me to come. I said, dude, I got speakers and lights. You want me to come and play music? They're like, oh, that's badass. Let's do it. I'm like, sweet. So I get a buddy or two to go with me and, we go and do that. And I just would love to see, interactions with the music and people. And they'll be like coming up and like, can we request a song? I'm like, well, sure, but I got this song played next. I'm like, oh, all right. And, I always had fun doing it. And I did a couple birthday parties. One was for my girlfriend's mom that, they had a small group of people come to their house and we played music there and had a good time. And then I threw a party at home once. Didn't have the greatest turnout, of people to come, but it was fun. And then I just like listening to music in general loud. Not obnoxiously loud, but loud in the right.
Yeah.
To say the right atmosphere and the right amount of people to be able to be doing that. It's not, absurdly loud at a show where,
not like the pig barn at the Indiana State Fair.
Or an area of people that's, there's 5 of us, but I'm blaring iTunes tunes for miles and you can hear them. It's, maybe within my group or loud enough I could get a little vibe going.
Yeah.
And then after that, tone it back down, let's keep it, where it needs to be or for the crowd. It's rated, enough that it's not nothing too explicit, but it's also, for the ears listening, it's good enough that, you get people bobbing to it or enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I've been told that actually at the state fair and the county fair. I like to bring my big speaker along and play music, and they're like, where are the tunes at? Or, where's the good music? And there's people in the morning, like, I'm somewhat of a morning person, but not. But if you get the music going, and there's other people that aren't, morning people, but they get the, the coffee flowing or the energy drink rolling, and then they hear the tunes, they just start bopping to it, and it's like, it's time to go, let's go. It gets you in the mood, but. Yeah, I had a little bit of a DJing era that I like to play music and throw the lights out and have fun and listen to loud tunes.
So do you still have the lights?
I do still have the lights. I actually upgraded my stuff a little bit. Nothing, extremely, out there to be a DJ, but I've got a computer, an aux cord. I bought 2 brand new JBL speakers, I believe it was last year. And then they come with their tripods they stand on, and then I think I actually upgraded my lights a couple years ago, and still have those same ones that I put on a tripod, and they hang out above my speakers.
My cousin's daughter may have talked us into hosting what she wants to call Beer Olympics this summer.
Oh my!
Yeah, so we might have to keep you in mind and resurrect those DJing skills.
That'd be fine.
Can you imagine us having a patio pondering with Micah at the mic? That would be cool.
That'd be good.
Well, those are some fun memories going back to being with your dad when he DJ'd a little bit in college.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the weddings we went to. Those days are so much different because he had stacks of CDs.
Oh, it's crazy. I think he still got them because I don't think he ever let the CDs go.
Because they're worth nothing. Well, maybe they are on eBay.
Maybe, yeah.
Cool. Well, we're down to the part of the episode where I asked you the same 5 questions I ask everybody. And remember that we're trying to find how your agricultural roots affected you where you are today. And you're obviously going to be different in 25 years than you are right now.
Yeah.
But let's go through those questions. And for the audience, I did let Michael look at them beforehand. So he's not completely blindsided. All right, Micah. The first of our 5 questions is, what is one lesson that ag taught you that you carry with you every day?
One lesson that ag taught me that I carry with me every day. I think a lot of people need to understand and know where a lot of young people, but also older people, what it took to get to where they are, and then don't forget that because that's what built you.
Yeah.
And I hear that more and more. I think in the show ring from judges that understand that. You just won this show, but their speech that they give is, don't forget who's behind you, and what it took for you to get here. Because you just didn't do it by yourself. Nobody does anything by themselves. It takes an army, a group, and you could go on and on from those that, what it took to get here. Because I can't leave home without knowing who's going to do chores.
Yeah.
But I also can't send somebody to the show knowing that things are going to be under control because that's my department. But I also can't leave home and have somebody doing chores, but during breeding season, who's going to breed? So there's just multiple things that feed off of each other like a tree, and they just keep it growing on who's going to do what. People need to understand, or even say the younger kids need to understand that don't forget where you came from because that's what's going to help you in the long run.
It's not uniquely ag. We can put in travel ball. We can put in... It's grounded and it's generational. You think back to the example you talked about with you helping your grandfather who was helping your dad. Those generational things, you don't see that in travel ball. Maybe dad played ball and you did, but the generational and the lessons that you learn in ag seem unique in the way that we experience them.
Yeah, for sure.
So the second question, if you could spend an afternoon with any ag figure from history, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I'm probably going to stick pretty basic here. After you read it the second time, it kind of clicked on kind of where I think that I want to be. And some would probably think that, I'm thinking of somebody who's out there that's a known person and that's done well for themselves. And I can think multiple people that have done that. But it's in the show pig world. There's multiple people that, and some of them you could say that maybe I spend the day with them already. Some may that I seek that I see those people, on the internet daily or what they do daily or the business they do. But I'm going to bring it right back to before I was even around. and I probably have to go back to my grandpa Kenny. Never got to experience what he experienced or what he did, and it's just because I wasn't a figure. I wasn't born yet. I wasn't there yet. But looking at pictures, looking at things that I get to see still to this day on the buildings that he had, hearing stories from my dad and aunt, I wish I could spend a day with what he used to do, running hogs, cattle, and sheep. Because I would love to see what it took, because it wasn't given to him to be able to do that. I talked with a guy today that runs a big commercial operation. I actually went through and looked at some sows with him because he's getting out of it. Probably one of the coolest days I've had in a while. And I was there for an hour. We looked at pictures on the wall of the farm, what he used to be a part of. He told me about the days that actually of each of those pictures that I saw. Exactly one of the pictures. He told me exactly what he was doing at that time that picture was taken. If anybody that's ever going to listen to this or want to know, I was talking with Tim Johnson there in Cherubusco. Yeah. I was looking at his house. I mean, a lot of respect for him. It's just wild to see, pictures from when they started till now, and then going through Grandma and Grandpa's house and seeing what Grandpa started with, and see what the farm looks like now. Not that it's been maintained and upgraded, but what he started with and what I get to see as a kid. And if I could take even 5 minutes just to listen to see what he would say that what it took, I would do it. I mean, I just remember my times hanging out with Grandpa and knowing it, seeing what I got to experience, but if I could experience what he experienced, but what he put into it, knowing that I would still have the opportunity that I have today to be able to continue it, I wouldn't trade it.
The cruelty of grandchildren, from our perspective, is we don't get to see our grandparents in their prime.
100%.
Yeah. You see them as old people.
Yeah.
And it could be 50 or 70 or 80, but they're old people. And we don't see them in their prime. And it brings me back. I told my family, I said, when I have an obituary, do not put a picture of me when I'm 85 years old on my deathbed. Show a picture of me in my prime.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see that with our grandparents. And I think that's a really heartfelt and appropriate to a lot of us in ag. And I think back to my grandparents. I spent time with them, but when you're 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, you don't give a hoot about them.
Yeah,
right?
you don't. And then you realize that at this age that, you kind of do.
Yeah, and if I just would have asked this question, well, heck, you wouldn't ask that question.
You're not supposed to as a kid. No. You're supposed to just kind of enjoy what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And if you could just go back and I wish I could tell kids this, and it's hard to tell kids this, and I think people, either tried it or done it before. If I could tell my younger cousins that, what they're growing up with, they don't take it for granted, but also, understand where you're at right now and take it in, it's more than you'll ever know.
But they're still...
They're so little that just is like... Whew.
Yeah, yes.
And then when they grow into it and it's bigger, they'll kind of remember, he said it was bigger than that then. What are we dealing with now? And it's just something that just kids don't understand. But you wish they would, because you wish you would have when you were that age.
That's a great one. What is one obscure or quirky thing about agriculture or show pigs you think people should know?
I don't know if it's quirky or not, but I would know what you're getting into. If you're gonna get into it, talking, from where I come from in the show pig world, if you know what you're getting into, because it's more than what you might think it is. There's always something that can lead off of what you think you're getting into or what you're into. There's always another step, or there's somewhere you can fall behind you may not have thought of from the beginning. There's just lots of things that can go wrong. There's lots of things that can go right. Maybe you thought that you could feed a pig and get to the county fair and sell it in the auction for $400. Well, okay, you base that $400 out. Your pig got sick. Now you got a vet bill. And now you got to get your pig back on feed, but you had to buy another feed that it would eat. So now your feed's $2 or $3 more. And not that it has to be dollar based, but know what you're getting into before you do it, and try to understand it.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their own aspect of different ways they want to do it or how they think it should be done. But in reality, is it something you should be getting into or not if you haven't experienced it yet? But I feel like everybody still should experience the livestock part of things and understand how everything is done. But you need to know that it's not just that easy to do.
You think we could sum it up that the show ring is just the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah.
And there's 80% that you don't see?
Yeah. I mean, some people might see, you look online and they've got this Walton webcasting, you can watch the show. Hey, we might get into showing pigs. We're watching the show. It looks like you got a whip.
Uh-huh.
You train your pig. Okay. Buy your pig. House your pig. Feed your pig. Your electricity and water bill. I mean, there's those things you don't think about. Okay. Now, have a trailer. Take the fuel to get there. Pay for the entry fee. Are you going to keep your pig skin and hair clean? Are you going to dress them up? I mean, there's just so many different things you get into, and that's just, know what you're getting into before you do it. And if I could tell a kid that, that wants to be me that wants to be the big guy, is I wouldn't jump in head first. I wouldn't.
Just think about
step
the
by
shavings bill.
Oh, yeah, I don't even want to get started because I look at our shit pile out back behind the barn and I'm like, we just hauled this before it started freezing back in November, December. And it's not as bad as it's ever been, but we're about a third of the way there. And we just started cleaning pens out. I mean, November pigs just in December we started cleaning pens out. And here we are a month and a half later, and boom, we have got ourselves a nice pile.
Nice pile. So the fourth question is, what is your favorite tool or innovation from agriculture?
My favorite tool, and it kind of goes with our generation, would be the internet, honestly. And I think it goes hand in hand with that. Maybe this is probably not my favorite thing to say, but it's right there at our fingertips that we could go on there and who's selling pigs tonight? What's the next best boar? Who's promoting the next best boar? Where's the next show at? You don't hear from Joe and then Jim tells, Steve that, this show's going on here in a month. No, you just look online.
Or you no longer have to drive the Logansport to see Far's sale.
Yeah, you don't. And, personally, I think that might be one of my, a favorite tool that I have as we've grown into the next generation or the next best thing is, the internet. But it's also maybe not the internet, but showpig.com. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think a lot of show pigs should be sold, need to be sold. That's where you need to promote, the people behind those, and even the Pig Planet. That's kind of where it starts. And I think the people behind them have great names in the industry. They're successful people. They get it done, but they also knew what was best for everybody. Yeah. And that's where it's at. Now, there's other platforms, but for the industry that I'm representing, the Pig Planet, the showpig.com are where I'm at. And that's the best for what I would say is my favorite tool, because that's where I can access almost anything and everything, and it shows when, where, whatever. And even one of the newest in the past couple of years is they've had the Sale Ring Live, which is a sale, you can watch sales online. But my favorite is the CCI Live, which is Todd and Blake Kennedy have put together an online platform that you can watch, bid, buy pigs online while they're happening through either, the sale link that goes through ShowPig, and then they've got their link, or you could just go to their website and click on that link for that day and go right to there, and again, it goes right back to the internet. And, maybe that's not a great thing for where the world's headed, but, it's resourceful enough that multiple people, you can just say, hey, go to here. It's right there if you want to know. Text me if you got questions.
So you're not the only one that brought technology.
Yeah, right there goes to technology. Yeah. And that's where it's come, Maybe they didn't used to do it. You used to just show up and go through everything, and you said, hey, you sell them here, and in 2 months, hey, I'll be by the farm. I want to check stuff out. Maybe that's how it used to be. Mm-hmm. I wasn't around then, but I kind of had an experience growing up in the early 2000s that, people just would, we had phones then, but it would say, hey, they'll call, verbally say, hey, be there at 3:30 on Tuesday the 10th. They would come by Tuesday the 10th, other than looking online that, hey, they got a sale Tuesday the 10th, we'll just look online. We don't need to go. That's just, things have changed, and that's different tools are different tools. That makes sense to
I think
the listeners.
It makes your job as a coach better or easier because, and I think about the example in the little bit that you've helped us. I've sent you pictures, and you're like, oh, do this, do that. When I'm coming, we'll do this. It expands your ability to help you. And sometimes the anonymity, even if it's a text message, it's a lot easier to say, hey, Micah, this, as opposed to standing in front of you going,
yeah,
I feel like an idiot for asking this.
For sure. That's understandable.
Yeah. Okay, Micah. So the last question of the evening is, what is one small act or change you think could make the biggest difference in agriculture or the showroom?
To that question, it's who you are towards the ones that are watching you. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are always watching you are the ones that are always, you don't know what's coming out of their mouth next, but that would be those kids. Mm-hmm. And to me, you don't often hear a 24-year-old, 25-year-old kid or a man say that they like kids, because some people might take that on. But for somebody that's grown up in a big family, somebody that's, as in myself, who likes to, coach but teach and see kids succeed and feels for kids, that's where I think it starts and where it needs to be, is, at the kids. I think I mentioned earlier, and maybe towards the beginning of the podcast, that, walking by a kid, or a kid walks by you, and you're walking with a group of people, but the kid says, hey, Micah, they give you a high five, or, give you a little side hug or a handshake, mm-hmm. and they want to know, how do you know that kid? Well, I've known the kid for years. Well, why is that? Well, I showed him attention, I've talked to him, we hung out, we threw a football, we played cornhole. And actually, that brings back a quick memory, I believe, back at the old hog barn at the Indiana State Fair. A kid that lived 2 miles down the road from me. I was in the back of the hog barn at the time, which would have been back under with the low ceilings, mm-hmm. back behind the rings, and I was back there talking and chilling with some friends and family from the area. I think I got caught in the crosshairs of one of the girls that was taking around the barn pictures. And I didn't know it until the time I went back through and looked at the around the barn pictures, and they caught a picture of me and a kid from 2 miles down the road from me. He stopped me in my tracks with his mom, gave me a high five, and asked me what I was doing back here, what I was doing.
That's cool.
And it's still a picture I have saved on my desktop and my phone today. And it just goes to show, who are you when no one's looking? Well, that camera was looking that day, and it caught an awesome picture of me interacting with the youth, a younger kid, that, I could probably think that, he really don't care. He cares. Mm-hmm. Because he stopped me and said, hey, what are you doing back here? Yeah. What are you doing? I haven't seen you today, or haven't seen you all week. You don't get a lot of people that'll do that with kids that way. I mean, if you can influence the kids enough, you're painting a picture somewhere mm-hmm. big. And that's where, again, I just love kids. That's still where it starts, is those younger kids. If you can get it put in them that it's going to be all right, but they want to be like you, and that's what I want younger kids to be. I want you to be like me, but do it better than I did. Yeah. Then, it's a place for you to be. And I've also heard enough, too, in Grand Drive speeches, they do it for the kids, but the livestock industry is the best, and you could say probably the agriculture industry, too, which falls in line on this, is the best platform for youth that there is out there. Absolutely no question. Doesn't matter if you're involved in grain farming, to livestock shows, county fair, state fair, national level. It is the best industry for kids to grow up in. Yeah. Because I hope and pray that there's kids or young kids like me that want to be like me, who are looking at those kids behind them and saying, I'm where I need to be, that kid's going to be where I'm going to be, and he's watching what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't know if there's enough of that yet.
Oh, there is. It will just get better if we have people that follow your suggestions and just talk to other people and not be too big for your britches, I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No, again, kind of goes back to know where you came from. Yeah. Because I was never, taught that I had to be the biggest and baddest, and,
Well, you're 5'8".
Yeah. Just that, exactly that, where you stand, and you got to work for it.
Well, Micah, we have spent quite a bit of time, and we've covered a lot of ground, and you've answered my questions better than I expected. You have your father's knack for talking, which is great.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Talked a lot.
So thank you for spending time with me. I look forward to watching you grow And we'll be talking pigs here in the next few weeks for 2025. For my audience, thank you for spending time with us. I look forward to more conversations like this, like we had with Micah, where we look for the expected and the obscure in their agriculture upbringings.